Europa Universalis 5 is just around the corner, but I haven't quite finished making videos for all of the fantasy races in EU4's Total Conversion Fantasy mod, Anbennar. I have about 2 months to bang out as many of these as I can until November 4th, the release date for EU5. So today, of course, that means we're going to start on the Centaurs. If you're new to Anbennar and you're not quite sure what you're looking at here, we have a whole catalog of videos you can go through to learn a lot more about various different regions in this fantasy world. But what you need to know is that it's basically Dungeons and Dragons, but thrown into a geopolitical simulator. Different fantasy races clash and cooperate in different ways. Empires rise and fall, heroes and villains make their mark on the world, and almost every country you can see here has a unique path for you to play. If any of that sounds interesting to you, you can download the mod from the description. As mentioned, we will be taking a trip to the Forbidden Plains, the home of the Centaurs. Or perhaps I should say, the new home. Now, the Centaurs are not the native inhabitants of the Forbidden Plains. Instead, the Centaurs originate from the Deep Woods, a magical forest which lies to the west. But several hundred years ago, the Centaurs were forced to flee as the Castanor Empire burned and kicked them out of their homeland. And ironically, the Centaurs have now done the same to the humans which once inhabited the mainland. They were pushed to this peninsula, which is now home to the Lake Federation. Now, we as Wild Hunt start in a precarious situation. Just a few years prior, we attempted another invasion of the Lake Federation during a winter which froze over many of the straits, allowing us to cross over and attempt our conquest. Unfortunately for us, the disparate city-states and small regions of the peninsula began to band together, fend off our invasion, eventually defeating us and proclaiming the Lake Federation. Tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of centaurs lie slain in the chaos that ensued, leaving us depleted of able-bodied men and significantly weakened. So for the first 30 years of the game, we get a whole list of penalties, including losing 95 horde unity. With the stage set, let's talk more about the Centaurs. First, we are a monstrous nation. We get -1 diplomatic reputation, but half-cost unjustified demands. Centaurs are very nomadic, allowing us to move our capital for very cheap, and of course we also move faster because we are half horse. So we have reduced envoy travel time and increased caravan power. Although we are worse at building spy networks, I guess because we stick out like a sore thumb, and we are a bit unruly, giving us increased stability cost. Naturally, our military is heavily focused around cavalry. It is in fact the only unit we can produce. But our cavalry is significantly cheaper and has a whole list of additional benefits. As a drawback though, we aren't very good with artillery. It takes a while to recover manpower and we don't get that many sailors, while we also suck at sieging and defending forts, and of course anything to do with navy. We'll start with granting privileges to the tribes. Then, of course, the mages also need some things. I think I'll also go ahead and give them land rights because we want to sell titles for quite a bit of money and seize land back. We also have our own religion, the Irdeos worship. We believe a god of the sky, clouds, storms, wind, and movement helped guide us to the Forbidden Plains during our ancient exile, and all who worship him will go to the paradise known as Ik Magdal in the afterlife. We do have sects. It's kind of like the vanilla Muslim mechanics, but we also get religious actions kind of borrowed from Anglicanism. So we do have this unique little mechanic. We have a nomadic zone of control that's set up around our capital, and each of these provinces receive a couple of bonuses, including local core creation cost. That's because you can set it up on the border of a country you want to invade and make the bordering provinces cheaper to ore. Now, our first target actually did just go off to war, so we're going to use this opportunity to just reconquer the stuff that should be ours. We do also have a new heir to the throne, a 333. We currently have our ruler in charge, although they really are not that good. Anyway, we've grabbed that back. There are some rebels here. We're going to want to actually beef up our army size before we fight anybody who is significantly stronger than us. Basically, because of our debuffs, we have to pick whichever country we can actually fight, and it is not going to be easy. Also, go ahead and hire a general, because even rebels can be really difficult. The way Centaurs fight is basically just whoever rolls higher, if you have the same or roughly the same number of guys. So like, yeah, this just happens sometimes, and there isn't anything you can do about it. Of course, we lose a stability at the start of the game. That's really good. Also, two things to make note of. One, we can't ally any other Centaurs. It is forbidden. And secondly, we also don't have mercenaries. So Centaurs are kind of at war with each other all the time, meaning whenever a war breaks out, you can bet it's a good idea to try and maybe fight them as well. So for example, I'm just going to declare war on this guy here. I have to wait for them to finish this fort. I can actually fight these guys. We should be able to win this because we have superior general and more people, but it is Centaurs. There we go. But specifically because of the situation we're in, we want to spend as little manpower as possible to get as much as possible. So we'll go ahead and annex these guys as well. Of course, we can actually raise that to get some unity. Now, we can invite a scholar. I think we want the shock damage received reduction. We're going to change our religious practice actually to tattooing, increase manpower recovery speed. So when we commune with Irdeos, we can get more manpower. And being successful at the early stage of this requires a little bit of knowledge of the EU4 AI, especially playing as Wild Hunt, because canonically you are not supposed to win as Wild Hunt. But when the AI is locked into a siege, usually they don't get off the siege unless they think they can like kill you immediately or something really pressing is about to happen. So we can force a siege race. And we just have to hope we win it. There we go. We have taken the capital. That is perfect. That is a 100% peace deal. Of course, we'll go ahead and raise everything we can. Now, since they're separatists, they're going to be a bit of a pain. And we're going to have to keep on trying to get as much manpower as possible so that we can attempt to fight a rebel stack. Now, we do have a little bit of national unrest that I want to fix. And to do that, we're going to bump up stability one time. And then we're going to actually have to increase our horde unity. Of course, we're really not in an amazing position, but so long as we can continue expanding, we should be able to trickle in more manpower to eventually deal with rebels completely. Oh, and we're actually kind of lucky, because if I can deal with these little stacks that he's creating here, then that actually counts towards the total battles we need to win. And that's important because that'll actually give us more manpower. There we go, we've taken the capital and we get another opportunity to wipe some more troops. That is beautiful. And because this is actually my subjects' territory, even though they're disloyal, they are going to help us. This should be the last battle we have to fight with them. Look at that, that is beautiful. Even the largest and bloodiest invasion in Centaur history could not trample the tree eunuchs under hoof. Those are the guys in this area here. All that has done is increased their wrath, unity, and ambition. There is a storm gathering, one that could change the history of these lands forever. Every Khan under the sky can feel the winds shift. If we are to come out on top, we will need to prove our Khan's valor to all of the Ordsewin of the land. So we now get a new privilege for our tribes, where upon winning battles against other Centaurs, we get 2 times our horde unity as manpower, and while sieging forts of other Centaurs, we gain 4 times our horde unity. So it would have been nice to get that before I finish that, but at the very least, we can get a little bit more manpower. Unfortunately, our dude has just died. But of course, as mentioned, this is every time we win a battle against another Centaur, which means we can kind of farm manpower. They get to spawn in some troops, we fight them, we lose 142 people, and then we get, actually that's not very many. If we bump up horde unity again though, we do get a little bit more. In any case, we will fully annex these guys. Our current Queen Regent is also a powerful mage, so she can do some things. Maybe some evocation at some point in the middle of a war. Actually, increasing my shock damage is not a bad idea. Now, one of the things that's apparent about rebels when you're playing as Centaurs is that they're like pretty much impossible to get rid of unless you have double the people. Like you need to have pretty much twice the manpower fighting them in order to stand a chance. That's actually a lot easier to fight like any other Centaur. Because like this battle, this is no problem. That's an easy wipe. Rebels though, they scare me. Now every now and then we can use our religious ability. We're gonna go with Shaman Communion. If we pick the fire variant, the modifier is doubled before being given to us. The modifier we picked is going to be the manpower one. So we have this great ritual basically creating a giant wall of fire that pillars up into the sky, and for the next 10 years we get 20% manpower recovery speed. Super useful for us because that's the one limiting factor that we have, and of course it's because of our failed invasion. Ooh, a second stability loss, that's really good. Great to have that at the start. Especially while under a regency, that's special. So as I mentioned, really the only way to deal with separatists is if you have double their number. which is going to be more of a problem when I have to deal with 18,000 of them. We are managing to pull it off. I'm also going to go to war with these guys just because they're next to me. Fortunately, we stacked up enough points to be the first to reach Miltech 3. In a very unexpected series of events, we had some pretender rebels that are now fighting these rebels. You love to see it. This should actually allow us to clear these out. And just like that, we have actually solved the rebel problem. That will go and keep on fighting. Of course, we are not done here yet. Still many more tags we could be invading. Capital is back under our control, so we can finally sell some titles. Oh, also, of course, we want to walk back in here as soon as they have finished sieging it. It has exactly 100 people in the garrison, so we want to take it as quickly as possible. For the next few years, our regent is able to cast some siege magic for us. Might as well do it. There we go. There's another full annexation. Now we can exalt Irdeos by etching geoglyphs into the earth for him to view with pride. That'll cost 100 crowns, and until the end of the current age, every time you move your capital, a tax building will be constructed at 0% the cost. Now, I don't have the technology for a tax building, but I would like to move the capital. This would be a good spot for it. Go ahead, we get the temple for free, and also we change our zone of control, affecting 3 new unowned provinces. It seems this guy's overlord is not willing to help him. We also have this guy down here we might as well grab. Ooh, okay, Golden Tremor has just done me a massive favor. As soon as they stop guaranteeing many of these countries, which they do not order, that's going to be some free territory. They're also helping me siege down here, so we might as well just go ahead and declare another war. We'll just continue going after whatever small fry we can for the time being. But we can also pick up our second reform. We have 2 options, both unique to the Centaurs. If we move our capital next to 4 Centaur culture provinces, we get half a year of manpower and 2 free cavalry units in the capital. That's pretty good. Or if we move our capital and we have 3 provinces with either wool, livestock, ivory, or furs within the zone of control, we get 15% national tax and 25% local manpower in each of those provinces. I think I like the first option better. And having done that, we've reformed some of the government. Lore-wise, we're basically converting all of our free clans into Ordsuin. And Ordsuin, from what I understand, seem to be subjects that contribute warriors, hence why that is also the unit name. Anyway, we get a half-cost level 1 mill advisor. We get 5% crown land, 2,000 manpower, and 75 admin. We'll do another shaman communion for the same thing, fire to get more manpower. We can also sell titles, get a bunch of money. I think I'll prepay a smaller loan. Now, after taking some land back, I'm going to move the capital here. It's going to give us a little bit of manpower and 2 more cavalry units. And I also picked up Miltech 4, which should give us the advantage we need to destroy Golden Tremor. And it is absolutely crippling. Yeah, I'd say we probably have this one in the bag. Really tough start, but man, we managed to navigate our way through it. That is a stack wipe. Almost the very last of Golden Tremor's army, and then of course once we clear out these 2, they actually don't get any mercenaries. The ogres in the west are attempting to invade, but we have secured everything we need for this peace deal. And having finished the war, we now have the respect of the clans. As our Ordzuin march into battle, the defeated willingly join our ranks for the chance to be part of something greater. The last of the free clans have been folded into our existing Ordzuin. Centaur kind will know our names and our vision, and we shall conquer the storm. We lose our admin efficiency penalty, and we double our manpower gain from that 1 privilege we got previously. Oh, there goes the ruler. We have a new con, a 363, not too bad. Now, we do have feudalism in the capital, so my chances of getting them from these guys are pretty slim. But I also get more crown land and manpower doing this, so that's cool. In fact, speaking of manpower, I'm just gonna do this. While I wait for more rebels to pop up, because I know they will, we're gonna go ahead and invade these guys, because Golden Tremor is still guaranteeing them. Which means we can play our cards right and turn that 13-year truce into a 5-year one. Ooh, that is not a good error. I don't think so. Okay, Golden Tremor, we really do just want a white piece. Having completed a variety of requirements for this mission, we can now convene the Council of Shamans, although that just gives us a general. This one's already complete. We consider sheep to be one of Irdeos' greatest gifts to Centaur kind, since they're able to produce food, clothing, accessories, and drink. For the rest of this age, wool gets 20% increased production. Now, I don't know if that means 20% goods produced or 20% production efficiency. And everything we have here is cattle. It's all cattle. Okay, we have this one wool province. Okay, it is production efficiency. Now let's try and finish conquering the south. This is a bit of a problem we'll have to deal with later. Now, for one of our missions, we do need to hold 3 tournaments, which is going to take us quite a bit of time. But we might as well get started with the first one. So we have our tournament. We'll see what happens in 5 days. And our Khan emerges defeated. But that's life. We do still get 10% siege ability for the next 10 years. We do have a new heir, a 613, just slightly above average in stats. 30 years have passed since the start of the game, meaning we have survived our debuff. Our manpower is back to normal, our subjects are more loyal, and whatever other penalties we had are also gone, including the cost to move our capital, so I'm going to move it over here. But I think I'd like to keep the trading capital in here for now. Of course, we get more manpower, more troops. Can't forget about these guys. I'd like to embrace the institution before it becomes even more expensive, so I'm going to sell some titles, take out a couple of loans, and of course we can take the next X. Truce with Golden Tremor is up. We'll see how much we can take. Oh, it seems we've found a rook, which are symbols of Erdeus' blessing, type of bird it seems. And if we decide to spend 300 crowns, we could get a stability. I can't bump it up, but I'll take it. Seems actually like we can take everything. Oh, speaking of taking things, that's one subject. So we'll go ahead and fully annex. And there's the other subject. Don't you love it when you forget to hit the record button? I swapped the government reform so I would get tax from that event, and then we moved the capital over here, and we plan to invade Great Storm. Amazing name, by the way. We instantly stack wiped their entire army because they are on Tech 3 while we're on Tech 6. And then, of course, before any of their enemies can come and occupy stuff, gotta make sure we stake our claim on everything. Now, of course, we can't take everything in this war, but at the very least, we can make sure that nobody declares war on them, and then we'll come back in 15 years. We could use some more money, so let's sell those titles. Now, I don't really remember if we end up getting the Renaissance for free at any point, maybe when we form the country. Probably not, because it has to be at least the year 1500, and these guys will eventually spawn the Renaissance, but I am not going to wait for that. So we're going to develop it in the province right next to the one where we developed feudalism. Let's not forget we do need to hold another tournament. This time the ruler emerges victorious, giving us 35 points in one of the categories, plus 5 prestige and another event. Oh, there are multiple rounds. Okay, that makes sense. So each time he wins, we actually get more points. And he wins the entire tournament. Attaboy. That'll also give us a stability, 30 more of each point, 2.5% discipline, 50% army drill gain modifier, and 10% siege ability. A few tags were popped out over here. I'm just going to clean them up real quick. Many of our fellow centaurs are under the dominion of the ogres. Of course, we'll have to free them. We'll clean up Skyblot and Northern Wind. Now we only have Warsight left, who is the subject. However, that's not going to be a problem despite how many troops it looks like they have, because only a very small minority of them are actually loyal. I'll just take what I need and leave the ogre kingdoms to cannibalize themselves, pun intended. And having developed this one iron province to 5 production, we can finish this off. With a greater supply of high quality weapons, we should be able to unify the centaurs quite easily. Of course, we've already mostly done that, but we get 5 innovativeness and 75 mill power. To make sure we keep that innovativeness, I'm going to go ahead and sell some titles, and I'll take out a couple of loans so that we can embrace the Renaissance and pick up the next couple of techs. Although I don't think I've solved our problem here. Anyway, we have our first idea group, and this time I feel more justified in picking up offensive ideas because of course we have minus 20% siege ability, which will be completely negated by offensive ideas. Gonna move the capital again. Finally, we have to do one last tournament. He wins the first round, and the second round, and the whole tournament. Perfect. That's another stability and 30 of each point, plus additional discipline and siege ability. That's the last mission we need to form the Great Khanate. We have surpassed the legacy of Dakarag of the Wild Hunt, and perhaps even of Nagol himself. Our Khanate reigns as one of the most powerful centaur kind has ever seen. Our Khans have proven their valor and strength of arms and character. Centaurs from across the land shall be honored to fight for us as the defeated swear their lives to our Khan. The Forbidden Plains are ours for the taking. For the rest of this age, we get -2 national unrest and -10% liberty desire in subjects. We also further upgrade the privilege, now tripling the original effects, and we get -10% land maintenance for the rest of the game. Now, if we wanted to, we could form one of the other Centaur tags. As you might have noticed by now, the Centaurs are not quite complete with their content as of yet, so none of these countries actually have their own ideas, nor do they have any missions. Except for one, of course, the Crimson Khanate. Finally, we can clean up Great Storm. At last, the year 1500 is upon us, and we can form the Crimson Khanate. Kurain Ulag. Upon forming the country, we will unlock a special casus belli to subjugate the puny humans of the lake. We will, of course, obtain new missions, we will become a great Centaur horde, and we have the unique ability to enact any number of purge or expulsion policies with no diplomat cost. We also get Unification zeal for as long as we maintain our Centaur zeal, giving us 15% morale of armies, 30,000 additional manpower, plus 30 force limit, minus 0.08 monthly war exhaustion, plus 75 global settler increase, minus 20% core creation cost, plus 3 leaders without upkeep, and minus 50% harsh treatment cost. We also, of course, get new traditions and ambitions. So these new ideas give us morale of armies, land leader shock, 25% additional raising power gain, 0.01 monthly war exhaustion reduction, 0.2 cavalry shock, a colonist, 10% governing capacity, 15% siege ability, 10% core creation cost, 33% cavalry combat ability, and 20% land force limit. Now, we also have an expanded mission tree, which I'm gonna be honest, I have seen already at this point. This is not my first time playing Kurain Ulag over the past couple of years, so I will say that I find it a little bit lacking as it is right now. The mission tree is essentially you conquer stuff to continue getting Centaur zeal, so you conquer more stuff to extend the zeal, to conquer more stuff to extend the zeal, and get more claims, so you can keep conquering stuff. I'm sure you get the gist. I'm also fairly certain that we will get a new mission tree for the Centaurs at some point. I've heard that the Wild Hunt tree, the country we were just playing, is actually in development, and references how bad of a situation they're in, and how to navigate that without pulling your hair out the way that I was doing. But in any case, the capital technically has been moved there again. I also forgot to mention we're now a great Centaur horde. So of course we have the nomadic zone of control. It's a little different now though. Every Centaur culture province within the zone gives us 0.5 horde unity and 1 reform progress. Every province within the zone that is unowned, we get temporary claims on. Then of course 20% land force limit, 20% manpower, 200% national supply limit modifier, minus 50% institution spread, which is interesting, and minus 25% reform progress growth. So Kurain Ulag is basically the despoiler country. As you win more battles, you increase your modifier here, until eventually you win 1,000 and you get frankly ridiculous stuff, including the ability to do free truce breaks. But never mind that, I'd say it's time for us to subjugate the Lake Federation. Of course, when you declare war on a member of the Lake Federation, it's not just simply them and their allies. Of course, they bring in a bunch of other people. We'll also pick up espionage ideas because they also give us siege ability and aggressive expansion, I guess. We can extend our Centaur zeal for another 25 years. I don't know how long it's going to last, so we might as well. We now stand united under our great Khan and against all who would oppose us. The time is now for the world to tremble, to fear us. A storm is coming, and soon it shall engulf the world. We do have a couple other missions also complete here. Basically, the humans think that they're safe now with their lakes and walls. We would happily show them how wrong they are. We get 50 military power. We just have a bunch of provinces. A result of us consolidating the plains and bringing all of the Centaur clans under our banner. We extend our zeal, get some more permaclaims. I think the best way to go about doing this is probably to white piece countries that I have a border with, and then just create a Centaur dominion out of the one that I actually can take stuff from. But we shouldn't take money because we want all these truces to be short. So they are now a Centaur dominion, somewhere between a vassal and a tributary, and then we continue. And another one bites the dust. Sometimes we get lucky and they don't call in anybody, but then we're actually unlucky and that's because they're being sieged. But it's not a problem. There's more than one way into the Lake Federation. Another Dominion. There we go, we have our radical reforms, but I do want to keep these guys at least a little bit longer. And of course we will turn you into a Dominion. Also at war with who? Oh, you just reoccupied your stuff, okay. That'll be another subject. And we can grab another one. Oh, also, I think I forgot to mention, we can do this. Monstrous Rule will give us an event that scales with the amount of human and elven provinces owned by us or subjects until the end of the age. Of course, that's not very long, but it's a good modifier. There we go, one more subject. That was a bit of a tougher one, actually. And another subject. I think at this point I have truces with almost every single country in here, except for maybe a handful of them. Most of these I don't even think I can actually reach. And I think this is the last one we can reasonably make right now. So of course we could keep on invading the Lake Federation, that's one of the main objectives. Although I think it has a couple of weird interactions, such as we have disband the Lake Federation, but we need to like actually own this stuff. It can't be owned by these sort of tributaries, but not really tributaries. And as it stands right now, we have a truce with pretty much every country that we can subjugate, I guess except for this one, but you get the gist. I think instead of just doing the whole thing, we might as well call it for today. I'd say we've already avenged our prior failure and are well poised to take over the entire Federation. Now, as I mentioned, I think the Centaurs are getting a bit of an update. They seem to get random updates every now and then. I think this is like the third or maybe fourth iteration of Centaur gameplay, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend the Centaurs as they are right now. They are very what you see is what you get at the moment. Big horde, you raise a bunch of stuff, you burn a lot of things down, you get a bunch of points and claims, and you move on. But I want to say thank you very much for watching. If it's your first time here, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, and if you liked today's video, leaving a like would be super appreciated. But for now, this is Corbett signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. As always, a big thank you to the patrons for this month. All these people get early access to videos, so I'd like to give a special thank you to those who decide to donate more. So thank you, Erica, Baby Cal, Born to Dunk, Gallo4, Lukebecker, Mikhail Sample, Nick Steffel, Princess Rhea, Cubrute, Spyro, Tillman Augustin, AG Forero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rosset, Torvald, Ambient Cyan, Elysia Tutz, James Levy, Luke78776, Stalin DLRP, and Robert.